So for the next Patreon request, I'm going to do something a little different by reviewing a non-animal themed movie. I mean, I have carved out exceptions before, and if nothing else, this can serve as a warm-up for something I might cover in the future. But we'll cross that bridge if we get there. For now, let's talk about Don Bluth's comeback movie, Anastasia.
Although the Tsar did not survive, one daughter maybe.
So unlike Disney and their revisionist take on the history of Pocahontas, this film is meant to be a fantasy spin on a certain legend inspired by a point in history. Its namesake is a reference to Grand Duchess Anastasia, or Anastasia, I don't know, a member of the Romanov imperial family that died off after the Russian Revolution of 1917. But since a body of one of the Tsar's daughters was missing, it led to some impersonators claiming to be Anastasia, in a bid to claim the remaining imperial fortune for themselves. At most, the Don Bluth film seems to follow the same sort of plot as the 1956 film of the same name. But again, it takes the story in a more fantastical direction. So what happens when you add a bit of magic into an urban myth and bring on board one of the most prominent American animators outside of Disney? Well, let's find out. This is the 1997 film, Anastasia. It opens with the Dowager Empress, Marie, voiced by Angela Lansbury. She tells us how enchanted her life in Russia was.
There was a time, not very long ago, when we lived in an enchanted world of elegant palaces and grand parties.
What's that? We're getting our asses handed to us by the Germans? The peasants are struggling to survive with the war going on? I'll hear none of it. Let's party! At least with the bigger budget and studio manpower, courtesy of 20th Century Fox, we can have some really impressive scenery shots. Character models might be hit or miss in their facial expressions, but the settings really come to life. So aside from making the imperial family seem better than how they were in reality, it doesn't seem to really diverge from history so far.
But we would never be together in Paris, for a dark shadow had descended upon the house of the Romanovs. His name was Rasputin.
Never mind! To the best of our knowledge, Gregory Rasputin was a holy man who dabbled in faith healing. He rose in prominence when he helped the Romanov family manage the hemophilia of the Tsar's only son. But he was a divisive figure in the imperial court, and his opponents accused him of having undue influence over the royal family, on top of some other crazy claims. In the end, he was assassinated in 1916, a year before the Romanovs' downfall. In this movie, though, his holy man shtick is all a lie, and he's only here because he wants more power.
How dare you return to the palace?
But I am your confidant.
Confidant?
Ha!
You are a traitor! Get out!
You think you can banish the great Rasputin? By the unholy powers vested in me, I banish you with a curse.
Well, at least Christopher Lloyd is serving up some fine ham for us to enjoy. So Rasputin sells his body and soul, literally, to influence the Russian population into storming the palace. So the revolution did not happen because of ordinary people having legitimate gripes with the monarchy. No, it's because the devil made them do it. Naturally, being a little girl, Anastasia can't bear to leave without her music box. She manages to get out of harm's way thanks to the help of a random servant boy, but she drops the box midway.
Hey, boy.
She and Marie are then ambushed by Rasputin. He managed to find them with the help of his little bat minion, who we'll get to later. But then...
Master!
I guess like in One Piece, selling out to the devil takes your swimming ability away. Or could be that his clothes were really, really heavy. Either way, they finally make it to a train, only for Anastasia to fall off at the last minute. Poor Dowager Empress, ripped away from her whole family just like that. We then fast forward 10 years later, when the Soviet Union has taken the place of the Russian Empire. The citizens of St. Petersburg then lay out the film's plot with a lot of song and dance.
St. Petersburg is gloomy.
St. Petersburg is bleak.
My underwear got frozen standing here all week.
Oh, since the revolution, our lives have been so great. Thank goodness for the gossip that gets us through the day. Hey!
Two things. Firstly, St. Petersburg should have been called Leningrad at this point in time, but I guess it'd be harder to incorporate that name into the song. Secondly, I guess even now, Don Bluth couldn't leave his Disney roots. Not to say this song is bad, but if he's trying to fight off claims that he copied the Disney formula here, he's not helping himself. Either way, the point is made. The Dowager Empress is offering a large sum of money to see the return of her beloved Anastasia, who might be still alive after all this time, and the ones willing to take up that offer are a couple of con artists, Dmitri, voiced by John Cusack, and Vladimir, voiced by Kelsey Grammer. They intend to get that reward money by tricking the Empress with a woman who will impersonate her missing granddaughter. Will they succeed? Will they find their fortune?
Who knows? Shh.
Next, we cut to an orphanage where we see a grown-up Anastasia, voiced by Meg Ryan, who has a serious case of amnesia and goes by the name Anya instead. Her only link to her heritage is the necklace Marie gave her, and the phrase, "together in Paris."
You want to go to France to find your family, huh? Little Miss Anya, it's time to take your place in life and in line, and be grateful too. Together in Paris!
But then she'd be out of your hair, and you'll never see her again. Throw some cash, why don't ya? Anyway, Anya's gotta decide on going to work or finding her destiny. Then some small dog, who she names Puka, messes with her a bit and leads her down to St. Petersburg. And as the journey goes on, she starts singing about her desire to learn of her past and find out where she belongs.
Heart, don't fail me now. Courage, don't desert me. Don't turn back now that we're here. People always say life is full of choices. No one ever mentions fear or how the world can seem so vast on a journey.
Love the singing voice at least, and even if this falls into the I want category of Disney songs, the family imagery shown is good. It's not wrong to seek out your past, though you can still live a full life without knowing where you come from. Just a matter of finding people who will be at your side when times get rough. And at least Anya has an interesting personality. She wants to go out into the world to learn more about herself, despite being dirt poor. She can even snark a bit too when the situation demands it. Critics have compared her to Belle from Disney's Beauty and the Beast, and it's warranted. But I still think she's one of the better independent female characters in the 1990s. Anyway, our heroine tries to get a train ticket to Paris, only to be rejected due to her lack of an exit visa. An old lady then tells her to look for one at the abandoned old palace, and it's here where Anya starts recovering some faint traces of her old memories.
Figures dancing gracefully across my memory. Someone holds me safe and warm. Horses prance through a silver storm. Figures dancing gracefully across my memory.
She then gets caught mid-dance by Dmitri and Vlad, who have previously been unsuccessful in coaching other women for their impersonation scheme. Both sides then realize that they can help each other, as Anya wants the documents to reach Paris, while the guys get as good an Anastasia impersonator as they're gonna get. Thus, after some hesitation, she agrees to help them.
If I don't remember who I am, then who's to say I'm not a princess or a duchess or whatever she is, right? Go on.
Yeah, and if I'm not Anastasia, the Empress will certainly know right away, and it's all just an honest mistake.
Sounds plausible.
But if you are the princess, then you'll finally know who you are and have your family back.
You know he's right. Either way, it gets you to Paris.
Right.
Ow.
It's gonna be really awkward when they find out she's the real Anastasia. More so when we realize who Dmitri was at some point. I should also clarify that Anya isn't totally aware of the guys' plan. At least, not yet. Dmitri and Vlad actually hide their cards well here, since they present themselves as working on behalf of the Dowager Empress to look for her lost granddaughter, with no mention of the reward money at stake.
Talking about the dog goes.
No, dog does not go.
I say he's going.
I'm allergic to dogs.
Anastasia? Yeah, just one problem there, fella. Anastasia's dead.
Oh yes, time to talk about the little bat minion from before. So this is Bartok, voiced by Hank Azaria, who was added in because, well, the heroes can't be hoarding all the animal sidekicks now, can they? And I guess he's been living here on the off chance that a Romanov survived the revolution and returned. And sure enough, the reliquary connected to Rasputin's soul reacts to this shocking news. It then proceeds to drag the bat minion down to hell? Purgatory? Whatever. The place that Rasputin's soul is in right now.
You're alive?
Yeah, the manner of speaking.
Whoa, that fell right out there, sir.
Something's happened.
I saw her, Anastasia.
Alive?
Wow, Rasputin's body falls apart if you so much as sneeze on it. Now he's acting like a drama queen with how long he's been stuck here. But with the reliquary back online, he can fulfill his purpose. To kill an 18-year-old! Aim high now, am I right? Oh, and anyway, time for the villain song.
I was once the most mystical man in all Russia. When the royals betrayed me, they made a mistake. My curse made each of them pay, but one little girl got away. Little Anya, beware, Rasputin's away.
In the dark of the night, people will find her. In the dark of the night,
It's easily one of the best songs in the movie. It has the best vocals and the most memorable dark imagery with the bugs and Rasputin. If we just forget for a second that this movie was using real people for this fantasy retelling of a Russian legend, this would be top tier stuff. At least for the 90s.
She'll be mine!
Anyway, our heroes are on a train bound to Paris. We get some bickering between Anya and Dmitri in the meantime, since he is trying to coach her into acting more like a Grand Duchess. It doesn't work, since she's a little too free-spirited to take orders from him, and Vlad simply stands back to watch the back and forth. It's good characterization all around, and also foreshadows how the first two characters are getting into each other. But now it's time for Rasputin's demonic imp creatures to cause more trouble. Right on time too, because Vlad finds out their papers are invalid due to having blue ink, not red. And as they move to the cargo area, the imps break off the passenger cars and speed up the train. Guess they gotta jump. Or not. Our heroes now have to separate the cargo carriage from the train itself, which they do with explosives. But their troubles are not over yet, since they need to slow down the carriage just enough so they can jump over before they all go over a bridge that the imps also destroyed.
Well, this is our stop.
Say what you want about this movie's historical inaccuracies, but at least it's not boring. The comedy bits with Rasputin and Bartok are a little much, but whatever. Moving on. After surviving the train attack, Vlad brings up how Anya will have to brush up on her etiquette to get an audience with the Dowager Empress, while also meeting her cousin, Sophie. Naturally, our heroine isn't especially confident about learning to act like royalty, But not to worry, Vlad is of noble descent, and he remembers all the steps by heart. You know what that means. It's time for a training montage.
Now shoulders back and stand up tall.
And do not walk, but try to float.
I feel a little foolish. Am I floating?
Like a little boat.
You give a bow.
What happens now?
Your hand receives a kiss. Most of all, remember this. If I can learn to do it, you can learn to do it.
Something in your nose.
There's nothing to it. Follow in my footsteps, shoe by shoe. You can learn to do it too.
The great thing about this song is it lets time pass by quickly while allowing us to assume that Anya is getting a lot of learning done. There's also a lot of energy in the montage, and the singing voices harmonize and play off one another wonderfully. We even get a nice bit of foreshadowing near the end.
He's gotten very fat.
And I recall his yellow cat.
I don't believe we told her that.
Anyway, they reach the harbor that has a boat heading to Paris. We also have a couple dances thrown in, and then another moment to further Dmitri and Anya's relationship. It almost gets intimate, but Puka cockblocks them in time. And during the trip, Puka snoops around Dmitri's belongings and finds the music box that Anya dropped oh so long ago. This pretty much confirms that he was the servant boy who helped her and Marie escape. And simply looking at the item stirs her old memories.
Something to do with a secret. Is that possible?
Anything's possible. You taught Dmitri how to waltz, didn't you?
As the trio sleeps, Rasputin decides to mess with Anya again by having his dark magic enter her sweet and innocent dreams. She's led to seeing her younger brother Alexei, along with her older sisters and parents, and it's enough to get her sleepwalking. Puka notices and wakes Dmitri up in time, just as she's about to sleepwalk right off the boat!
Yes. Jump! The Romanov.
And good thing he saved her. She was about to leap right into hell.
The Romanov curse.
Romanov, what? What are you talking about?
I keep seeing faces. So many faces.
It was a nightmare. It's all right. You're safe now.
I mean, you're still on deck, where it's stormy and all. Maybe you should wait till you're inside to say that. But it's fine, our heroes are safe, and I guess the dark magic doesn't have total control over the weather. Rasputin takes his loss well.
Easy, Master. Wow. This is no time to lose your head.
I feel a sudden onset of clarity, Bartok. I'll have to kill her myself.
You could have done that from the start, if you were implying you can leave at any time. And yeah, he does leave hell using the reliquary. Guess he finally decided to stop being lazy and do it himself. Meanwhile, in Paris, our heroes meet up with Sophie, who acts as a gatekeeper of sorts, shooing away some Anastasia impersonators who keep showing up. Because, as it turns out, Dmitri and Vlad weren't the only con artists who wanted to take advantage of Marie, and her heart can't take any more imposters. So now Anya has to make a flawless first impression in order to even be in the same room as her grandmother.
Where were you born?
At the Peterhof Palace.
Correct. And how does Anastasia like her tea?
I don't like tea. Just hot water and lemon.
Okay, so far so good. Sophie is starting to buy that she's talking to the real Anastasia. But when the former asks the latter how she survived all this time, Anya proceeds to recover more of her past memories that sound very familiar to Dmitri.
Walls opening.
So? Is she a Romanov?
Oh, well, she answered every question.
But things don't go as planned, for while Sophie is ready to present Anya, the Dowager Empress has called off the search for her long-lost granddaughter entirely. So to work around this snag, our heroes decided to come see her at an upcoming Russian ballet performance. Dmitri is finally convinced that Anya is the real Anastasia, but let's hit the town shopping scene before we move on with the plot, shall we?
Daddy holds the key to your heart, and Ola Paris plays a part.
Bonjour! You stroll to Baidu.
And what we call love. And soon old Paris will be singing to you.
Man, Paris seems awesome. I mean, look at this. Guys flying on top of planes, a woman with a pet cheetah, paintings you can enter and immerse yourself in. It's a fun song to go with a fun sequence. It certainly has the most creative animation, and it makes for another memorable scene. But anyway, Dmitri tells Vlad about his past as a servant boy for the Romanovs and how he helped Anya escape many years ago. He then says that he can't be together with her, pointing to his lack of royal status. But if you watched enough Disney movies, you are savvy to know that they are going to end up with one another. Hell, this relationship is also a shout out to the 1956 film, where the Anastasia character ends up with the Dmitri of the film, called Bonin. But the finales of those two works aren't exactly identical, as we'll see later. For now, Sophie at least gets Dmitri to meet with Marie, and it's clear that the Dowager Empress is in one hell of a grouchy mood. She then explains how she knew of his kind schemes to get at her fortune by coaching Anastasia impersonators. And Anya hears every word of that encounter.
It was all a lie, wasn't it?
No.
You used me? I was just part of your con to get her money?
No. Look, it may have started out that way, but everything's different now. Anya, please. When you spoke of the hidden door of the wall opening and the little boy, listen to me. That was...
No! I don't want to hear about anything that I said or remembered. You just leave me alone!
Anya, please, you have to know the truth!
Something about that confrontation changed Dmitri, though, because now he wants Marie to meet Anya at all costs. He hijacks the Dowager Empress's car and takes her to where her granddaughter was staying, and convinces her to take this one last chance by showing her the music box.
I know you've been hurt, but it's just possible that she's been as lost and alone as you.
You'll stop at nothing, will you?
I'm probably about as stubborn as you are.
This leads to the long-awaited encounter between Marie and Anya. The two express their own doubts about whether Anya is Anastasia, or what it really means for Marie. But eventually, as our heroine remembers vivid details of her past life, she shows Marie the necklace she always had. And it turns out, it's a key to opening the locked-up music box. And that's where we get that one beautiful moment.
Home with me once upon a December. Oh, Anastasia. My Anastasia.
Yep, Don Bluth aced it. Compared to some other animated films based on this legend, this is the best possible version of the reunion scene. That moment when Marie realizes that she isn't conned, that she isn't being tricked, it hits you right in the feels. And Angela Lansbury's delivery nails the elation that the Empress felt in that moment. And the emotional payoff is immense. Not just for the audience, but for Dmitri as well. He's satisfied enough that he isn't going to take the reward money later as originally planned. And the act also shows his newfound maturity when he placed Anya's happiness before his own. So a big celebration is in order, and oh yeah, remember the villain?
Shall have her moment!
But who cares?
Then we'll kill her.
Right, and then kill her? Sir, what happened to the party idea?
That's where we'll kill her. Crush her at the height of her glory.
And we're back to the crushing. Sir, I'm begging you, please. Please forget the girl and get a life.
He's got a point. Rasputin is obsessed with killing this one girl all this time. And I have no idea why he ignores Marie, since she is a Romanov too. Like, maybe he thinks Anastasia is responsible for his drowning earlier, but that's his own damn fault. Anyway, Anastasia and Marie bond a bit before making preparations for the party. And as stated earlier, Dmitri refuses to accept the reward money. He says that there is something else he wants, but it's something he thinks the Empress cannot give him. He says his goodbyes to his friends and prepares to leave. But Marie also seems to be catching on to the fact that he was the servant boy who saved and liked Anastasia. She then asks her granddaughter about this, and even suggests that she doesn't have to follow her back to her royal life. That she can blaze her own path if she really wanted.
Knowing that you are alive Seeing the woman you have become brings me joy I never thought I could feel again. Whatever you choose, we will always have each other.
Grandmama, can't you tell me that...
This again seems to be something that happens in the 1956 movie, where Marie lets Anastasia elope. Though while Marie provides additional help in making sure Anastasia gets her happy ending, here, because we still have a villain, we gotta have our climax.
Anastasia. Your Imperial Highness.
That face.
Last seen at a party like this one.
Well, I guess she isn't as frightened of him, but still, at least he's trying with the dark magic. And again, it feels so petty to go after someone who didn't even do anything to you personally. Just settle for the dead father. He was the one ruling the empire anyway.
Oh, you're on your own, sir. This can only end in tears.
I mean, you really didn't do much as a comedic pet character, but at least your paws are clean of any wrongdoing. Maybe. So far, Anastasia is not afraid, but old Rasputin can change that.
Say your prayers, Anastasia! No one can save you!
Wanna bet?
I will say, this last act gets pretty crazy. We have an animated horse statue, Puka fighting off some imp minions, and Anastasia even getting in on the action. She fights off the villain long enough for her dog to steal the reliquary, leading to this.
This is for Dimitri.
Give it back!
This is for my family.
How dare you to pieces!
And this is for you. Das Vidanya.
That was oddly satisfying. Anyway, Dimitri's fine after the fight, and our story ends with Anastasia deciding to elope with him, with the Dowager Empress's blessings. Anastasia vows to return to her grandmother one day in a letter she sent her, but for now, it's pretty much the perfect beginning for these two.
Hello? Wow! I tell you what, wow! So long, everybody.
So that was Don Bluth's Anastasia. As far as historical accuracy goes, it's definitely fabricated beyond recognition, but as a movie adaptation to a Russian legend, it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, I get it. The film uses so many Disney tropes that you can make a good drinking game out of them. But it's one thing to know the formula by letter, it's another to then make something worthwhile and engaging with it, which Anastasia does admirably. I'm just saying, we'd be in a better place culturally if all the Disney ripoffs are as good as this one. And if you're still on the fence towards this film's originality in comparison to works like Beauty and the Beast or The Little Mermaid, then ask yourself this: which is the lazier ripoff in this day and age? This movie, or the live-action remakes Disney's made over the past handful of years? With the former, you at least feel like it's a story told more from the hearts of the people responsible for it, and that the purpose of the movie is just to spin a really cool yarn that you might not be familiar with. Disney is capable of that same magic, to be clear, but that wow factor is just painfully absent in the remake films over the past few years. They are way too similar to their predecessors to warrant existing at all, so in the end, they feel like empty, glorified cash grabs, and a sign of an animation titan coasting on past glories. Who knew that Disney probably could learn a thing or two from the supposed ripoff and not the other way around? Okay, rant over. This is a review of Anastasia after all. The main cast was great, the two leads have solid character arcs, and the voice acting from both the heroes and villains is inspired. And on a technical level, the animation ranges to good to incredible, while the songs were really catchy for the most part. Could have used a better villain plot, but that's a minor nitpick on my part. Nevertheless, I still can't totally get over the reality that this film distorts and simplifies a lot of the actual history that the story relies so heavily on for its setting. There is so much to say regarding the context behind the fall of the Romanovs, the lives of ordinary people at the dawn of the Soviet Union, things that this film glosses over for the sake of narrative convenience. But at least the potential damage from such a fictional take on history isn't out of control. From what I can gather, Russian viewers came into Anastasia knowing that it wasn't meant to be historically accurate, and they enjoyed the film quite a bit as a result. And at the same time, it can serve as a gateway for viewers to learn the history of early 20th century Russia for themselves. As for Don Bluth, Anastasia was a return to form after a string of failures, and you could argue that this is the last best work of his storied career. The movie made back almost 3 times its budget, and its Rotten Tomatoes score is in the mid-80s. A major success all around, so of course there's going to be a spin-off movie sequel featuring Bardock the Bat. It's a curious choice given that he didn't do very much in the film, but hey, we gotta keep the Anastasia train going somehow. That spin-off could be something I can tackle next year. But right now, let's just say that nothing can be as weird or historically inaccurate as this Don Bluth flick.
And now for something completely different.
The children first. I know you're there. Come out. Can I ask you something? Anything.
I stand corrected.
I've been there when the world stops turning. I've been there when the storm is through.